There is an old idea, one that the Stoics understood better than almost anyone in history, that the quality of your life is decided less by what happens to you and more by who you allow close to you. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire, still took time every single night to write down warnings to himself about the kind of people who could quietly poison his judgment. Seneca, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Rome, said that we should regard the choosing of friends as a more serious decision than almost anything else we do, because character is contagious. You catch it from the people around you, the way you catch a cold. And yet, most people spend more time picking out a car or a phone than they spend evaluating the character of the people they let into their inner circle. Today, we are going to talk about 7 types of people the Stoics would tell you to never fully trust, not out of bitterness or paranoia, but out of clear-eyed self-respect. This is not about becoming cold or shutting the world out. It is about protecting the one thing you actually control, which is your own mind, from the people who would corrupt it. 1. The person who flatters you constantly. The Stoics were deeply suspicious of flattery, and for good reason. Epictetus taught his students that praise which costs the giver nothing is worth nothing to the receiver. A flatterer is not interested in your growth. A flatterer is interested in your comfort, because your comfort keeps you close to them and keeps you useful to them.
Think about the people in your life who never challenge you, who agree with every decision you make, who tell you that you are right even when you are clearly not. That is not friendship. That is a transaction dressed up as warmth. Real friends, the kind the Stoics valued, are willing to risk your temporary displeasure in order to tell you the truth. A flatterer will never risk that, because a flatterer's entire value to you evaporates the moment they stop being pleasant. So when someone showers you with praise that never comes with an ounce of honest feedback, do not mistake that for loyalty. It is often the opposite. It is someone managing you, not someone who respects you enough to be honest with you. 2. The person who is only around when things are going well. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius about the difference between fair-weather company and real companionship, and he was blunt about it. He said that adversity is the only true test of a friend, because prosperity attracts crowds, and hardship reveals who was ever really there. You have likely lived this yourself. When you were winning, when the money was good, when your name was rising, your circle was wide. Then something went wrong. A failure, a diagnosis, a public embarrassment, a financial collapse, and suddenly the group thinned out. The people who vanished during the hard season were never really invested in you. They were invested in what being near you could do for their own image or their own gain. This is one of the harshest but most useful filters a person can apply to their life.
Do not judge your relationships by how people behave when you are thriving. Judge them by how people behave when you are struggling, because that is the only moment character cannot hide. 3. The person who talks badly about everyone else to you. Marcus Aurelius kept coming back to a simple principle in his private writings. If someone gossips to you about others, they are almost certainly gossiping about you to others. This is not cynicism, it is pattern recognition. A person who constantly complains about their other friends, their family, their coworkers, in vivid and cutting detail, is showing you exactly how they operate. The behavior does not stop just because you happen to be the one sitting across from them right now. You are simply the current audience. The moment you are out of the room, you become the subject. The Stoics valued discretion as a form of self-mastery, the ability to hold your tongue, to not need to tear others down in order to feel interesting or important. Someone who cannot control that impulse around you cannot be trusted to protect your reputation when you are not there to defend it. 4. The person who only reaches out when they need something. Epictetus made a distinction that still holds up today. The difference between people who value you for who you are and people who value you for what you can provide. He warned that if you let yourself be loved only for your usefulness, you should not be surprised when the affection disappears the moment the usefulness runs out. Think honestly about the people who contact you.
Are there some who only appear when they need a favor, a connection, a loan, advice, or access to something you have, and then vanish just as quickly once they have gotten it, offering nothing in return, not even consistency? That is not a relationship. That is a resource being tapped. A real bond has some reciprocity to it, some rhythm of give and take that exists even when nobody needs anything at all. When the contact only flows in one direction and only at moments of convenience for the other person, you are looking at exploitation wearing the mask of friendship. 5. The person who cannot control their own emotions. The Stoics placed enormous value on equanimity, the ability to stay level even under pressure, and they were wary of people who could not manage their own inner storms. Someone who explodes in anger over small inconveniences, who cannot handle being told no, who treats every disagreement like a personal attack, will eventually turn that same instability toward you. It is not a matter of if, but when. You cannot build something durable, whether it's a friendship, a business partnership, or a marriage, with someone whose emotional weather changes without warning. Seneca wrote about anger as a kind of temporary madness, something that hijacks the reasoning mind entirely while it lasts. Trusting someone who is regularly hijacked by their own emotions means trusting that the hijacking will never be pointed in your direction. That is not trust. That is a gamble, and the odds are not in your favor.
6. The person who breaks their word without any sense of shame. Cicero, whose writing overlapped heavily with Stoic thought, argued that the foundation of justice itself is keeping promises and being truthful, and that a person who breaks their word casually is undermining the very fabric that allows people to live and work together. Watch for the person who commits to plans and cancels without real explanation, who says they will help and then simply does not follow through, who makes promises as a way of ending an uncomfortable conversation rather than as a genuine intention. A broken promise here and there, with real accountability and real regret, is human, but a pattern of broken promises with no discomfort, no attempt to repair it, no change in behavior, tells you everything about how much weight your time and your trust actually carry with that person. Words should mean something. When they consistently do not, you are not dealing with someone who is untrustworthy by accident. You are dealing with someone who has decided, consciously or not, that your expectations simply do not matter. 7. The person who wants you to shrink so they feel bigger. This is perhaps the one Marcus Aurelius would have recognized fastest, because he ruled surrounded by people whose entire survival depended on staying close to power. He wrote often about identifying people who wanted to use him rather than know him. Pay close attention to how certain people respond to your wins.
Do they celebrate you, or do they go quiet, change the subject, or find a way to diminish what you have accomplished? Do they seem more comfortable with you when you are struggling than when you are thriving? That discomfort is a signal. A person who is only at ease when you are smaller than them is not someone who wants the best for you. They want a version of you that makes them feel secure by comparison. Real Stoic friendship, the kind Seneca described in his letters, is built on wanting the other person's flourishing as much as your own, without needing them to stay beneath you in order to feel steady in yourself. None of this means you should walk through life suspicious of everyone, cataloging every flaw in every person you meet. That is not Stoicism. That is paranoia. And the Stoics had no interest in paranoia. What they wanted was discernment, the ability to look clearly at behavior over time, to notice patterns rather than isolated incidents, and to make calm, unemotional decisions about who deserves your time, your loyalty, and your trust. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he could not control other people, only his own judgments and his own responses. You cannot force anyone to be trustworthy, but you can absolutely decide, with clear eyes and a steady mind, who has earned a place close to you and who has only earned distance. That decision, more than almost any other you will make, will shape the entire direction of your life.